Thank you so much. I think the rights and responsibilities and vulnerabilities of Muslims, as the topic goes, uh, I think a lot has been said about it, but I must express my disagreement at the outset at this topic because after 75 years of having gained independence, that we still seek our identity, members of my community. And I'm from Kanpur. I'm daughter of a Maulana. Deoband Seminary gave the title, this khitab of Ilmi to Abba. And that's where I come from, Kanpur, Chamanganj, which was completely a Muslim, predominantly Muslim area, where I still, after 75 years of independence, that we still see our identity as that of minority and see ourselves as that is to me is disagreeable to me because I really feel and not that since I've been a child I have been treated as an equal. There have been instances when people have told me many times that why didn't you go to Pakistan? I remember being a little girl standing at an ice cream vendor in St. Mary's Convent, Kanpur, and young girls coming to me and saying, "तुम लोग तो Mohammedan हो ना?" And I'd say, "I don't know Mohammedan क्या होते हैं. हम लोग तो Muslim लोग हैं." Because I didn't know what Mohammedan was, and then I was told by my elder brother that Mohammedan is just Mohammedan mispronounced.
Sorry, I muted.
Okay.
Go ahead,
please.
Okay, so Mohammedan is just misspelled. Mohammedan is mispronounced, and Mohammedan it's actually so it's Mohammedan is just because everybody say Mohammedan. So but for every slight that I endured, there were always those who also who gave me not just adequate love, but also the I was more than an equal. So yes, and I think everybody, whether it was my friend Ruchi Jain, who was always teased for being a Jain. Then there was my friend Garima, who still gets teased because she says, "Oh, you're a Banya." So there were always these divisions, and I think there was something very cruel about us as a people. तुम बंगाली लोग ऐसे होते हैं, तुम पारसी लोग तो ऐसे, बाबा लोग तो इतने होते हैं. There is just something which was very primitive about the way we spoke of the other and how quickly we were to otherize. And even amongst Muslims, how we were with Shias and Sunnis and Deobandis and वहाँ पे मच्छर हैं, वहाँ पे खटमल हैं. So while we were so ready to homogenize and see ourselves as Muslims, when it came to the BJP or the RSS or the Sangh, so to speak, we would never want to look at the sectarianism within. And I was always I always like to think for myself. I always wanted to kind of wanted to challenge what everybody else was saying, and I thought about it, and I realized that I'm not going to subject myself to any kind of hatred and be, just be spewing hatred against anybody, whether it's an organization. I'm going to be rational and I'm going to think for myself. So this is who I am as a person. So yes, where my rights go, and it's not that we have not been vulnerable. There were times and far before. So while, there is ever since our Prime Minister Modi ji has held to the office, and ever so strongly, people seems that there was no idea of otherizing or the identity of that of community before that. But we all know where we come from. We all know the history of our country. We know about the grave sins of partition. We all know what has happened. We all know the various riots that have happened. And as somebody who lived in Kanpur and UP, I was all too aware. As a daughter of an editor and a publisher, Ilmi Sahab, who we had a Urdu newspaper, Siyasat a Jadid, as a youngest daughter and a little kid in the house where the news was coming out, I was well aware of the fact that that there was there was rioting going on at all times, and Modi ji was not even a figment of anybody's imagination. I mean, I got to know actually about the so-called how evil the RSS is much more from the mass communication school I went to. So I think it existed more in the minds of the academics much later when I did my masters, not much earlier, because my mamus and khalas never spoke about it so as much as others did. So it was that Sanghi Soch, which random creep up, and that was it. But I know what the first case which was slammed against my own father was by Nehruji. And when he spoke for the prophet, and it was on this book called Rangila Rasool. So and my father felt that it was very unfair. So I don't know what we talk about. It seems that we've forgotten history and we need to revisit it. And how easily this nomenclature of my party for Muslims, so it is very secular. Your party is not for Muslims, it's for Hindus, so it is communal. I think it is the most dumbing down of your brain and most numbing down of your intellectualism that can ever happen to anybody. And it's the easiest thing to use when you don't want to deliver, when you allow a particular family or corruption to prevail. And as you all know, I left my career of that of a news anchor, and I was very good at the job when Anna Hazare Andolan happened. And I just felt I have to do something more. And will I, as a Muslim, only talk about communalism, secularism, or will I talk about other things? Will I talk about governance? Will I talk about transparency? Will I talk about basic rights that affect everything else? Or will I just talk about being a Muslim, and my identity? There is so much more to me. Don't Muslim families deserve great roads, great services? Don't they benefit from a basic toilet? I mean, doesn't a Muslim woman need the same thing as a Hindu woman does? Ahirs, Jats, Kurmis, Swarns, and the Dalits, don't they need don't the very poor need the very same thing? So was so shocked that, and I was absolutely disgusted by the so-called secularism of the Congress party. And I know, because I lived in a Muslim area for the longest period. So there are rights, but there are also rights of an individual within the community. There's also a right of a Muslim woman within the Muslim community. There are also rights of liberals in a Muslim community. There is also a right, just like there is a right to wear a hijab, there is also a right not to wear a hijab and not be judged. There's also a right of, let's say, I know what happened to a professor in Alig1 because he was gay. And there are individual rights also. Rights are never absolute. And so just using your identity for politicization and politics and tom-tomming it almost to espouse the most regressive practices, which are not even there in other Muslim countries. Just like when we had to fight on triple talaq, for instance, it is not even a part of Quran. But so-called secular parties, whether it's the famous Shah Bano case, I mean, this secular party, which Congress calls itself and other parties too, actually went against the Supreme Court judgment, which just gave a poor Muslim woman, Shah Bano, who was well in her 80s, first 140 rupees and then 500 rupees for maintenance. वो इस्लाम खतरे में आ जाता था. इस्लाम क्यों खतरे में आएगा? Why would Islam be so small-minded? So I think we have the worst kind of politics has happened in our country in the name of Islam, and the very mentality which led to partition has been allowed to rear its ugly head. which is exactly what has been happening. And at that point of time, by succumbing to this, whether it's the Shah Banu case, and now we saw what happened with triple talaq, and as recent as this conversation on hijab. So, it's hilarious that the so-called secularists and people who dare to call themselves liberals, actually go out of the way to keep women cloistered and secluded and say, oh, it is their right. They would not want this for their daughters. They would not want this for themselves. But they're out there. So just to oppose the BJP, you are ready to throw Muslim girls under a bus. So I don't know what on earth the secularism is. But if this is your idea of secularism, I mean, I do not want to practice this. Thank you very much.
It was quite brief, and obviously we wanted to hear more from you. So let me, because you are short of time, we had some question about it. Okay, so you put your case that for you this was what was practiced was pseudo secularism. The BJP is practicing probably a real secularism or doesn't discriminate. But don't you see that every day in India, activists from BJP, all fronts, whether sadhus or from secular fronts or from normal fronts, all different outfits continuously charge on a certain community, us Muslims. They question about their belonging here, their loyalty here, or their equal rights as a citizen. Don't you see that genocide or one day hijab? Why they have to question? Why they don't question on tilak? Why they don't question on tika or sindoor? Why they question other like that? Yes. So
I don't know where you. No, I think you're totally misinformed. I don't know where this word genocide has come from. I mean, I'm sure there is some leftist, fake secularist who is sending some weird manufactured WhatsApp from the imagination of his mind. There have been no communal rights in the very history of India for the very first time. If you see the communal writing that has happened in India for the very first time in the last 7 years, and I hate to make it so ugly and as cliched as that, because when you say us, you talk about Muslims, obviously, but for me, us is a much bigger number. But if I just want to think of myself as a Muslim, let me tell you, the least number of Muslims have been killed on the watch of the so-called, not secular party. So BJP does not tomb secularism, but in terms of giving anything half decent to anybody, whether it's your basic, so it's one thing to just keep running the propaganda machine. Muslims are very vulnerable. Muslims ke saath ye ho sakta hai. And not doing anything for them and just living and sucking the blood out of them and using them as vote banks. For the very first time, Muslims and the poorest of them, the poor ones, I'm not talking about the rich ones who have the luxury of the ideology, so to speak, and they can do whatever.
I understand, but you see, when you say that there are no riots happening,
show me any information.
Okay.
Show me, no BJP activist, no BJP minister, no BJP office bearer has ever spoken anything against any Muslim whatsoever.
That is surprising in the sense that...
No, if you can quote any fact to me, I mean, in your imagination, if things are happening, then, in my imagination...
Hold on. Let me just ask questions, okay? You can answer whatever you want to say. You said that there is no...
I can only answer to facts, sir. I can't...
of course, that's fact you. I understand. That's fact you. This is a terror in the sense that whether it happens through riots or through lynching. This is the first time in our country.
Exactly. Lynching. Do you know how many Hindus have been lynched? Do you know how many Dalits have been lynched? Do you know the Sikh lynchings? Do you know the Nelli and all the massacres? And do you know what has happened in each state? Do you know? Do you know that there is and why would you attribute it to the BJP? Lynching, just because those three names were made into a propaganda machinery, does how does it become a BJP issue? They were done at the time of Akhilesh Yadav. What has BJP to do with it?
So
I mean, partition happened. No, I'm asking you. Partition happened in a country. So you would say that happened because of BJP?
no, not
I
at
mean,
all. No.
Jallianwala happened. No, Jallianwala happened. Was that because of BJP? You can blame BJP for everything. I mean,
No,
I don't
we are not.
understand.
No,
What
please.
is this? Akhilesh
Please.
Yadav. No, I'm asking you a very logical question. Lynchings happened. So if you read the news, if you care, because if people have taken out all, and it's terrible that anybody has been lynched. But do you know what speedy trials have happened? Do you know that Ashok Gehlot's regime, Junaid, the Muslim man who was lynched, do you know that though there was a confession from the killers, from Junaid's family and Junaid, and also the killers of Junaid, do you know Ashok Gehlot, who is from Congress party in the Congress CM, do you know they're out on bail? But you know something, there was no follow-up. The WhatsApp University forgot to tell you that. Because you know why? They wanted to tell you that Modi is evil. This is happening. And do you know, in Clark's case, do you know that those people are behind the bars? So you know, if you don't care to read the news and follow up and read the same old leftist people who are actually working and who are political activists, then you know, it's too much. You have to know the news, and that's what I'm saying. It's facts. You have to know the facts.
I understand.
आप पढ़िए इसके बारे में क्या हुआ?
Please.
Junaid was killed. But similarly, you have to know about.
I understand your point.
How many? No, you have to allow me to speak. If you don't know your facts, you're talking about Junaid, Clark, and Pehlu. I can talk about Ankit and Dev and Chandan. Muslims have killed Chandan. But is there a thing that, you know, that Muslims are killing Hindus? What if that starts? Do you know what will do to ordinary Muslims?
So
Have you read the statistics on that? Do you know in Dalit and Muslim areas, how many Dalits have gotten killed? But will you ever find a reportage of that in your WhatsApp University? You will not, because this goes against the propaganda. So I'm thinking I can only answer to the to facts, right? I can't answer
First, let me clarify. Most of the audience here is quite educated people. They are very much knowledgeable about political scenario about India, and they are not just. Yet
they did not know. They did not know that Ashok Gehlot's government let off the killers of Junaid.
Yeah.
Yet they did not know that. Did people know that? I want to ask them.
Do we not have a rank? Listen, the problem is you are.
You know, that's the reason why I don't want to attend these forums. You know, there's a very good reason.
But you are not listening also.
I'm very happy not to be a part of it.
No, but you are also not listening. You are just saying.
Hold on, Razi bhai. This is not a political forum. This is an intellectual.
Of course, it is political. Of course, it is political. Did you hear the question? Of course, it is political.
It is an intellectual.
You are just fighting.
You don't want to listen to any facts. You don't want to listen to what
these
Muslims
are not
have
facts.
I mean,
these are not facts.
This is a narrative.
This is a propaganda.
And you're saying it's not political. Come on. क्या बात? आप लोग जानना ही नहीं चाहते. आप लोग इसी में रहिए. बहुत मुबारक आपको. आप इसी में रहिए. बहुत जेनोसाइड हो रही है. सब मुसलमानों को मारा जा रहा है. बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं. आप इसी में रहिए. Thank you very much. You are so right. All the Muslims in India are being killed.
So are you right?
Want to believe this? It's true. Thank you very much.
Right about it? Are you right about it? What you're saying? So this is how it happens. So you can see that
this is Razi bhai designed that way that you just speak. Don't let the other person talk about it.
I know, sir. Please let me say this thing. This was. She agreed to come, but then suddenly she changed the discourse that she is in a hurry. So she wanted to just say all these things, and she will not listen to anything. She will not take any genuine questions. She just put the propaganda machine in full swing. This is how they operate, and you can see it. So based on that, we have to have now a real evaluation that it works. It works for a public a lot, and it has delivered them.